Eden House Foundation. Thank you so much once again, Boniface, for joining us this morning. Now, let's also speak about when you identify your son or your daughter that they have a talent and you want to bring them into the creative industry. And there are all these vices we've spoken about, but also they get to live out their dreams. Yeah? So it's not a bad thing that they want to do what they're doing. They're talented, of course, but at the same time you cannot be ignorant of what is happening in there. And like you said, there are very many artists even here in the country that we can look up to and say, wow, regardless of how the industry is, they've come out on the other side and they're balanced. If they're taking in some alcohol, it's not too extreme. They're balancing this life. So what should a parent consider?
Thank you very much for that, because a lot of, where we come from, and maybe now we're beginning to see a little change with parents understanding over time that creatives and artists and accepting it. We are beginning to see, a parent that is more informed. But we still have quite a bit of parents who, when their son or daughter get into this field, are very resistant from the word go. I'm a left-handed myself.
And me too. I'm very left-handed.
I remember how I was really pushed when I was younger to drop writing with my left hand or using my left hand. It's in a similar manner that quite a number of creatives, and when I look back, even my own childhood, I see some very smart creatives who were made to feel not clever,
there's something wrong with them.
Something wrong with them. And they are now, in retrospect, I see the kind of talent, and they were embarrassed in school, made to feel stupid, made to feel useless, amount to nothing. That's not the case. That's no longer the case. We begin to see an education system that is also very supportive of the creatives. My daughter is in the CBC system, so I'm beginning to see institutionalization of the education system that supports creatives and supports sports and other areas of. We are beginning to see that. So parents, once we identify our kids from a very early age, that they can dance, that they can sing, that they can, it might be helpful not to try and stop them. So start off there, at least at the minimum. Do no harm. No, don't cut. Don't stop them. Don't snide them. Some things we say. So by the time even the musician is coming from home, sometimes they're already in a rebellious state. Because they've been talked down at, told off about. So for them to even pursue a career in that field, already they're coming into predisposed, because they're coming in rebellious.
I see.
Now, the parent has already lost, because this is what this kid loves to do. The kid has already got into the field. And once they get into the field, now the parent of this child is no longer, or this musician who is upcoming, it's no longer the parent.
I see.
It is the ones that are in the studio.
Got you.
The ones that are setting up what is the norm.
Because of the acceptance now.
The acceptance and the appreciation of their skills, and that is where they get influenced negatively by if they learn. And that is also a place where parents can want to know who are they working out with, who is their star, how is the studio like. Can you go to those practice sessions, figure out how they are doing? I've seen parents come to C12 with their daughters. There's a musical group of just girls whose parents are very nuanced, who come to their practice sessions, who come to the studios where they're practicing, who know who the management of their daughters or sons are, and try to minimize damage, because it's not necessarily that it's not necessarily that if they start to drink or start to use other substances, that they will develop a problem. It's important parents understand the industry and what goes on there and be available. So even as our children, as our artists are being exposed in this field, because they'll go to perform in nightclubs, they go places where people are high, it's important that parents and family know what's going on and join in. Yeah?
Okay.
In Israel, I went for some training there and found some parents who have parental associations for such groups and attend those functions, attend those musical concerts, an association of parents across the country who actually show up for this.
They come together for their...
Yes. So that is number 2. Number 3, for those that are beginning to develop a problem, we need to have the authority of the music industry and NACADA in support, in conjunction, and other organizations that really look at their welfare of these people. There is no doubt that the nature of the industry scientifically shows a predisposition for mental health issues and addiction issues because of the nature of emotional extremes involved. You know how you see how you just see people, even soccer, when they score a goal, how they look.
Yeah.
Yes, the dopamine levels. Yes, even the fans, how they are.
Yeah.
So those are extreme emotions, and coming down from those kind of emotions
it's not the easiest.
Yes.
Okay.
When these sports people develop for one reason or another, all these musicians who perform, you can see how it's not it is, those are extreme emotional exposures. Yeah, going further down that's why many artists, when they stop playing or stop performing, they develop a problem, because getting back, their dopamine levels are used to this, create euphoria. Yeah. And the quickest way to get that state, or even nearer that state, is using substances.
Right.
Alcohol, drugs, ecstasy. So it's important that we understand that these people, by virtue of their work, we have to start planning on how to intervene earlier on. Management of these groups and music should have people like us, or people in our industry, or in their own industry, who are already role models, looking out for people who are developing problems. And you know, a lot of times, in fact, the sense of C12 as a studio was not so necessarily around having a studio that not one person is drinking, but also cleaning up the lyrics. What are they singing about? Are they glorifying sex? Are they glorifying corruption? Are they glorifying the hustler life of gaining and getting whatever it is you want? Are they glorifying violence? Are they glorifying femicide? No, you have to look at the content of what our people are singing.
Yeah.
It's so important to influence that content by promoting, competing with the negatives.
Okay.
The negatives are known and studied. So it is very critical that we get engaged in promoting and competing with the negative forces. The negative forces are powerful. Yeah? They have sex, have substance use and euphoria that gets in there, have a lot of money in that process. There's a lot of violence and rape and abuse. Yeah? Even some of these young people, to even get a chance to sing, some girls have had to, it's recorded. some of the young dancers in music groups, sometimes we just look at the top of the ticket and forget that there are quite a number of people who are in that band or that music group who have to get a slot. They might not be as good as the lead. What happens to them? How is that environment?
Yeah.
Who are you? Are they safe? Yeah. So parents, the society, the authorities that look through the welfare of these people ought to come and have a mitigating effort that develops interventions in all those stages of entry, of the environment, and eventually, if there's a problem, how these people get support.
Okay. Let's take a look at something very important and pertinent that you said, and that is the euphoria bit, the mental health bit. You have someone reaching a peak of fame that they would never have imagined in their life reaching. And you have a magnitude of people who do not even know you, or those who know you, so excited. You have this persona, and most of the time, the personality is disassociated from who you are. So you're not this person, you are the brand, and then there's you. So the brand bit of you is out there. You're celebrated to the point you don't even know what to do with that kind of exposure or fame or glory, for that matter. So can you please give us the dynamics of fame and the kind of pressures that it gives this particular creatives, and how now they tend to dive into now the substances, because for some it's so big that maybe that is the only time in their life they would ever receive it, or it is so continuous that they don't feel like they can wake up and feed this. It now becomes a monster.
Yes.
Every other day.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that is so even for people on TV like yourself, sometimes that pressure can be a lot. I've seen quite a bit of a few anchors, news anchors, and what their stardom and the persona that is created from their work and their creative arts work or their music is so up here. It is not matched because our industry has also not remunerated them very well as compared to, for example, in the US.
Yeah.
So you'll find some creatives are very well known by most of us, but they're really struggling with the basics.
Yeah.
Transport is a problem. They don't own now their own homes, and they have to live in this created image. Yeah. So this is a challenge, a big one sometimes for them, especially because there's not even interventions to help these people understand what it is they're going to be dealing with. There's not one person who is. There's no one who has been hired by the industry or by the family or to update this person on the changes that are happening and how to manage them. So it's unintervened. No, it's just you're on your own, figure it out yourself. Yeah? And this person could just be a very good creative, and that's it. No managers who can help them. Some of them just want to use them for that time. If a substance will help increase their creativity for that time, they will give it to them. No? So yes, we need to have this kind of interventions. We have seen also a lot of our clients who have bipolar. Bipolar is a mental health disorder, which is one side is extreme. You find when they are in their manic state are very creative and very smart. If it is managed well, that is a moment where they can
even
really
when they're unwell and they're getting treatment, you can still see that side of them being as creative. That's interesting.
And then when they go the other side of it, are abandoned or left to their own devices, and the depressive side. And I think some of those people are the ones when they're not taken care of, they don't have really good insurance, they don't have medical covers. When they get into the depressive state, you can lose some of them in that time. Yeah, and that's just a mental health issue, and that could be managed, through psychiatrists and medications. Manage the mental health issue. That doesn't make them crazy. It's just awareness we need to create that there are people who have bipolar disorder. And I'm one of the board members of the Bipolar Society of Kenya.
Right.
And one of the reasons I joined that is because of dealing with musicians. I've seen a predisposition and dealing with artists, predisposition between bipolar, creative artists, and the need to have a psychosocial support. There's a medical support, but there's also need to have psychosocial support, psychosocial spiritual support.
I see.
Yeah.
Why psychosocial and spiritual? Is it that now, when the way they're operating or coping with this quote-unquote loss, let's call it loss, because they're where they are right now, and they may feel that they may not be able to come back to the kind of glory, quote-unquote, that they had. So they disassociate themselves with this character. So you have this external bit, which now, they know only too well, and then this other version. You see, naturally, maybe you would say I separate who I am when I'm in the public and I'm in private, but for them, how now does that practically look like? How does that separation come up to be?
Well, yes, and that's where, when they come to us, for example, we really help them understand the nature of the problem, the nature of their condition, the support systems available for that kind of group, because we now have a bipolar peer support system,
right,
for creatives and the C12 program. This week we are doing CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and thanks to that group that are giving us that class for creatives. Awareness is very critical. Awareness is so critical. And reading, and I want to urge some of them who are listening, for example, today, to really use AI and use the available phones to really read and test themselves. If you can't afford to see or come to C12, online has a lot of support systems. And just being aware already creates almost 50% of the solution. Being aware of what's going on, then what is available to support you go through this. So the peer support systems are very, very helpful for musicians.
Are there particular personality types that are more prone to be, bipolar or so, when they get to, effects of high success, if I may say, or is it that anyone can be predisposed? Yeah, I'm not very sure about that, but I think creatives, just by the nature of their brain chemistry, that is a predisposition by itself. Because if you think about what it takes to get to that, the kind of discipline, also,
the kind of exercise, the hours that it takes. So a lot of times we just see the final product. We see the final product, and we assume that that is how that person is. But before they get to how good they are, there's a lot of hours. And with those hours are very intense focus, very intense practice, and very intense insights into their industry.
Right.
And that already it heightens the emotional state. It heightens just to get to that level where you are really good at what you do. Some of I used to play football, as I mentioned to you, soccer, and I remember some of the debilitating memories of lost chances that I still have.
To date?
Yes, where I missed a goal that I should have scored, and it was so important. I have never forgotten.
To date?
Yes, to this date, I can remember how I missed that. How did I miss that? And you know, sports people live with that. They are perfectionists. They are very intense about what they to get to a level where you are that good in anything. In itself, brings around a brain chemistry, yeah, that is predisposed by the chemistry, the dopamine levels, the serotonin levels, the emotional intensity to achieve that. Once the brain gets used to that, that's how we start to use. When I couldn't play anymore, when I couldn't play football anymore, that's when I started using substances. Started using marijuana, just to get, and for me it was because I developed asthma. Yeah, so to regain the level of wellness of a person who is using, because of, you know, when we exercise, that's what we get. When we are running, when we are playing, when we are achieving, you get a lot of reward. The reward system has been so it is essentially that is what is going on really behind the scenes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boniface, unfortunately, we've come to the end of this conversation, but thank you so much for giving us insight into the creative mind. I think sometimes we may get it, sometimes we may trivialize it, and then we demonize, most people when they come up with particular issues, and yet we don't understand as to how and why it gets there. So thank you so much for sharing your experience and this perspective with us. And of course, you'll be back to give us more, insight into this.
Yes, thank you.
All right,
thank you so much for having me, Remy.
You're welcome, Boniface. Thank you. All right, thank you so much for watching Morning Vibe. My name is Remmy Majala. We were speaking about the creative mind and addiction. Our guest has been Boniface Dirangu, who is the director, beg your pardon, of Eden House Foundation. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow.